Atiku is not a Democrat. Nobody should try to push the narrative that Atiku is a Democrat. Atiku is not a Democrat. Atiku, in my opinion, knows how to manipulate the democratic process. He knows how to plant his henchmen, his loyalists in positions in order to bend democratic processes to his will. He knows how to do that. That you followed and you bent the democratic processes to your will does not make you a Democrat. Peter Obi is a Democrat, and that is why when it comes to a political party and certain key players in that political party are doing certain things that are not democratic, instead of him to behave like a Tinubu and bend the party to his will in a very non-democratic and undemocratic way, instead of doing that, he just simply takes his leave. That is what true Democrats should do. They should allow parties to run based on party constitutions and party rules and regulations. So, I don't want to agree that Atiku is a Democrat. And the reason for me saying this or talking about this at this time is simple. Peter Obi yesterday was at Arise News talking about his plans for 2027, ticket or no ticket, in fact hinting at possible defection from the ADC. That video went viral. Shockingly, today, Atiku insisted that he too must also go to the same Arise News, the same Primetime with Charles Anyagolu, to also give his own interview. And then in that interview, it became very, very clear that certainly Atiku is contesting in the primaries for a ticket. It's very, very clear. Now, how does this connect or link to the fact that I said Atiku is not a Democrat? If Atiku were a Democrat, he will understand that Nigeria needs this principle of the pendulum, swinging north and south. The north has done 8 years. Atiku would have allowed the south to do 8 years before jumping into the mix again. But from what we heard Atiku say with his own mouth, he is saying that 2027 will be his last attempt, which means he is desperate, which in my opinion proves that he does not respect democratic principle, part of which is the principle of zoning. Now here is the thing. If Atiku is looking at this game as his last opportunity, do you think that he will leave anything to chance? We were all here in this Nigeria in 2022, 2023, when primaries were going on in the PDP. And we saw how dollars were changing hands, how delegates were being bought. Is that how true delegates and true Democrats behave? They buy votes. Atiku is not a Democrat. I wonder why people like Peter Obi, for some strange reason, would think that because Atiku came up with a coalition idea, that Atiku would just relinquish the platform which rumors have that he bought for 1.7 billion naira from Ralph Nwosu. How Peter Obi and people like him feel and believe that Atiku will just surrender that platform, the platform of the ADC, so that any other person apart from him can come and do primaries and get tickets. It still shocks me. It still beats me. I can't understand it. This man is telling you in very clear terms that this is his last opportunity. That he doesn't care whether it is the turn of the South. He doesn't care whether Tinubu has just used only 4 years out of the 8 years that is supposed to be for the South. He doesn't care. And the allegations are there that, okay, he is the one that brought David Mark. If the allegations are also true that 1.7 billion naira was paid to purchase ADC, and the money is allegedly supposed to come from him, and this is his last opportunity, do you think that he will now leave such a party to chance? Why do you think that he went out of his way to great lengths to force David Mark and Aregbesola, people that he is sure are loyal to him, as the chairman and the national secretary? Why do you think that is? Look, if anything is going to be described as being fair, anybody who refuses to zone the presidency to the South in the ADC and throws it open, that person does not want free and fair primaries. It can never be free and fair if any Northerner joins the race for presidency in the African Democratic Congress. It will not be a free and fair primaries, because the principle of zoning the 8 years of the South should be respected and remove anybody that is coming from the North. So Kwankwaso should not bother, El Rufai should not bother, Malami should not bother, Atiku should not bother, Tambuwal should not bother, because let it remain in the South. Anything apart from that, it will not be a fair game. Even when you now zone it to the South, the fair thing to do is this. The Southwest has had it now for 12 years. 8 years under Obasanjo, 4 years under Tinubu. The South had it for 6 years. 6 years under Goodluck Jonathan. The Southeast has not had it. This is why we are saying give it to Peter Obi. Not because he's the only one. If the primaries of the African Democratic Congress is going to be free and fair, zone it to the Southeast. Bring as many people as you want from the Southeast to contest. It doesn't necessarily have to be Peter Obi. It can be Peter Obi. There are other persons from the Southeast. It can be Kenneth Okonkwo. It can be anybody. It can be Victor Ume. It can be anybody from the Southeast. But only the Southeast. If it is not zoned to the South and it is not zoned to the Southeast, then it is not a free and fair primaries. It is not a primaries that respects democratic processes. And it is not a primaries that Peter Obi should participate in. Because the fact that Atiku is in it and he's looking at it as his last opportunity, and he has gone to great lengths to put his henchmen in charge of that party, forget it. That primaries ain't going to be free and fair. If you like, let Peter Obi be the one that brought the National Organizing Secretary. By the time dollar starts changing hand, you go know how far. Already the statistics have it that more people are registering from the North than they are registering from the South. Now, even the people from the South forget, when better dollars begin to change hands, the henchmen, the loyalists of Atiku will always find a way to bend the party to the will of Atiku, to give him ticket. And by that time, it will already be too late. Not just for the Southeast, but for Peter Obi. So let nobody drive this narrative that Atiku is a Democrat. He is not. If he were a Democrat, he would have sat this 2027 election out. He would have chosen or opted to use his influence, to use his experience, to use his financial capacity to support other candidates, particularly from the Southeast. Atiku should go into his retirement, into his sunset days, on a high note by respecting the principles of democracy, by sitting the 2027 election out. This one that is insisting he must run is his last day. It's not good for democracy. And it's not good for the African Democratic Congress. And it's not good for Nigeria.